Gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Mobbs, is it fair to say that the Biden-Harris Afghanistan withdrawal was a complete failure?
It is very fair.
Thank you. 13 U.S. service members were killed during that withdrawal, and one of those service members was my constituent, Staff Sergeant Ryan Canals. I know his family well. Every time I come out of our farm, I turn left and I see the sign right there. The Ryan Canals Memorial Highway, young man, he was 23 years old. Has the Biden-Harris administration acknowledged the families of these victims?
No, they have not.
What would be the reason behind not acknowledging them? I just can't imagine. That I was county mayor and somebody would get hurt, and we'd call their families to make sure they were okay. I mean, to me, it's just beyond belief.
I agree with you.
All right. How many billions worth of military equipment were left behind during the withdrawal?
$7 billion.
Did you say 7 billion?
$7 billion.
7 billion. The Taliban has also accessed $58 million. $58 million. It's the Taliban, U.S. provided funds meant for the former Afghan government. Is the Biden administration taking steps to prevent U.S. funds from falling into the hands of terrorist groups in the future?
No, they currently have not, and that does not also include the $2.9 billion since August of 2021 that the UN transported, and unfortunately the U.S. remains the largest international donor to the UN, and thereby that money is eventually landing in the hands of the Taliban.
So that money is what?
Landing in the hands of the Taliban.
Yes, ma'am. A close friend of mine who's on a podcast with another really good buddy of mine, Sean Ryan, he said that this other friend is a former U.S. Army soldier and citizen of Afghanistan. He recently revealed that the U.S. continues to send the Taliban $40 million weekly. Are you aware of this?
I'm not aware of that figure exactly, but it would make sense given the fact that we are transporting a massive amount of money to the UN.
And what would that money be used for?
I couldn't say specifically, but probably nothing positive.
Well, the fact that a single penny of American tax dollars has ended up in the hand of terrorists is a disgrace. And I have a bill, of course, everybody gets here and promotes their bills that are going absolutely nowhere. And I actually have a bill, 6586, that would require the Secretary of State report on countries aiding the Taliban, the amount and its use. It would develop a strategy to discourage countries from aiding the Taliban and review the eligibility for U.S. assistance. And it would report on direct assistance in Afghanistan, including recipients, payment methods, and measures to prevent Taliban access. Now, this bill's already passed the House, and it's sitting in the Senate. And and I really urge Majority Leader Schumer, this is a bipartisan issue. This is just a failure of the United States government. And apparently, millions a week don't add up to a lot. But I tell you, in East Tennessee, dadgummit, they mean a lot. And people are struggling to get by right now. And when we're throwing millions at people that want to kill us, to me, it should be our so-called legacy news in this country ought to hang their head in shame for not talking about this at all, because this is a complete disgrace. Would you comment on that?
I couldn't agree more, Congressman, and I think that the issue is not just the money that's going to the Taliban in Afghanistan. I think broadly speaking, there needs to be more oversight and accountability of foreign aid dollars going to countries that hate us. I think Senator said that people should be able to hate us for free. Currently, so much of our money is going to places like Yemen and Libya and Syria to be utilized allegedly for humanitarian purposes, but oftentimes it's taken away and utilized for the nefarious purposes that you're speaking about.
Yes, ma'am. I totally agree with that. And I would urge Senator Schumer to bring this bill up for a vote, tack it on to some other piece of legislation that's going to pass. I don't see how we can look at the American taxpayer that's struggling so hard, especially in East Tennessee. Folks are, you see them at the gas pump and they don't fill up. They get a quarter of a tank, and they go to the store and you can tell they're looking through their change, making sure they got enough, and that's pathetic. That's pathetic. And as usual, The war pimps seem to be making out pretty good. They get on both sides of these conflicts, and eventually it's going to be, as my daddy, old World War II Marine, told me. He said, old men make decisions and young men die, and we're going to get to that. So thank you. American public, the people of this country deserve more. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen.